Hey guys, tonight we are going to perform the ultimate act of divine loitering. We are ascending the mythical peaks of Mount Olympus, bypassing the lightning storms and the grand mead halls, where the other gods are undoubtedly causing a scene, and heading straight for the quietest corner of the cosmos. We are going to sit on a padded stool and watch a piece of charcoal slowly oxidize for several thousand years. Picture a room made of white marble that is always perfectly warm, smelling faintly of toasted rosemary and old stone. You can practically feel the radiant heat sinking into your skin, a heavy, drowsy blanket that makes your eyelids feel like they are made of lead. Honestly, between the total lack of conversation, the hypnotic flicker of the orange light, and the fact that your only job is to make sure a pile of ash doesn't get too cold, you probably won't survive this soar at least. Your motivation to ever stand up again, one single quotes. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment letting me know where you are and what time it is. I love seeing the global roll call of Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are Hestia. You are the goddess of the hearth, the right ordering of domesticity, and the family. But more importantly, you are the designated introvert's champion of Greek mythology. While your siblings are out there turning into swans, starting wars, or getting involved in very messy paternity suits, you are here. You are sitting in the exact center of the great hall of Olympus. It is late, or perhaps it is early. Time is a bit relative when you are immortal and the sun god is your nephew. The hall is vast, echoing, and blessedly empty. You shift your weight on your stool. It's a modest piece of furniture, made of olive wood with a cushion stuffed with the finest wool from sacrificial sheep. It's not a throne. You don't do thrones. Thrones are for people who need to project authority, and you have nothing to prove. You are the eldest of the Olympians, the firstborn of Cronus and Rhea. Well, technically, here is a mainstream historical fact for you. Hestia is considered both the oldest and the youngest sibling. She was the first swallowed by her father Cronus, and consequently, the last one regurgitated when Zeus staged his rescue mission. So, in a weird, divine chronological loop, you are the big sister and the baby sister simultaneously. It's a confusing family dynamic, but it essentially means you've seen enough drama to last an eternity. And you are happily opting out of it. You lean forward, resting your elbows on your knees, and stare into the hearth. This isn't just a campfire. It is the amphilos, the navel of the house, the symbolic center of the universe. The fire is round, contained within a raised circular altar of polished bronze. It doesn't roar. Roaring fires are inefficient and dramatic. Like Ares, this fire hums. It is a bed of deep, glowing coals, covered in a delicate layer of grey ash that insulates the heat. Your task tonight, as it is every night, is simply to be. You are the keeper of the flame. If this fire goes out, the symbolic warmth of the gods dies, and arguably, the concept of the home collapses across the Mediterranean. That sounds like high pressure, but really, it just involves poking things with a stick every few hours. You pick up your poker-along, slender rod of iron and gently nudge a log that has rolled slightly to the left. It crumbles softly, sending a tiny shower of golden sparks drifting up toward the smoke hole in the high ceiling. The silence is heavy and sweet. It's a physical weight pressing against your ear. You can hear the draft pulling air into the fire. Whoosh, hiss. You can hear the settling of the building itself, the marble contracting slightly as the night air outside cools the mountain. You are perfectly comfortable. The temperature here is a constant, balmy 75 degrees, regardless of the snow outside. You are wrapped in a simple chiton, a woolen tunic of undyed cream fabric. No gold armor, no peacock feathers. You are the beige goddess, and you own it. You watch the colors in the fire. This is your primary form of entertainment. Deep in the center, where the heat is most intense, the coals are a pulsing, translucent cherry red. As you move outward, the red deepens to maroon, then fades into the soft, powdery gray of the spent fuel. It's a slow-motion landscape of destruction and rebirth. You watch a single vein of sap in a log boil and bubble, whistling a high, thin note like a tiny tea kettle. Fi, it pops, releasing a miniature jet of blue flame. You smile. That was the most exciting thing that has happened in 300 years. There is a scholarly debate that historians still argue about regarding your status in this hall. Some texts list you as one of the 12 Olympians, sitting on a high throne with the rest of the dysfunctional family. Others claim you gave up your seat to Dionysus, the god of wine, just to keep the peace and avoid a fight, effectively retiring to the hearth. Whether this was an act of supreme pacifism or just a desire to avoid sitting next to a guy who smells like fermented grapes is unknown. But as you sit here, staring at the embers, you know the truth. The stool is more comfortable than the throne. The throne is cold stone. The stool has a cushion. You won. You reach out a hand to warm it. The heat radiates against your palm, dry and clean. This fire is fed only with specific wood snow pine that pops and spits, only dense slow-burning hardwoods. You are a connoisseur of combustion. You know the burn rate of oak versus olive. You know exactly how to stack the wood to maximize airflow while minimizing smoke. You are the eternal Boy Scout, minus the badges and the frantic knot-dash tying. It's interesting to note a quirky tidbit about your worship here. Unlike the other gods, who have massive statues of marble and ivory Athena with a helmet, Zeus, with his Bultu, barely have any statues at all. In many ancient temples, Hestia wasn't represented by a human form, but simply by the fire itself. You were the flame. You were the abstract concept of warmth. This suits you fine. Posing for sculptors is tedious. You have to hold still for hours, and your nose always itches. Being a fire is much easier. You can dance and flicker and nobody tells you to chin up. The hall around you is vast and shadowed. The columns stretch up into the darkness, illuminated only by the faint, wavering glow of your hearth. You are the only source of light in the room. Shadows stretch out from your stool, long and distorted, dancing on the far walls. You are the anchor. The others come and go Hermes, zooming in to drop off a message. Apollo striding through to check his reflection, but you remain. You are the geographical constant of Olympus. You gaze at a piece of charcoal that looks vaguely like a dolphin. You watch it for 20 minutes until it crumbles and looks more like a turnip. This is the pace of your existence. It is slow, deliberate, and incredibly soothing. The modern world is obsessed with speed, with doing, with achieving. You are the goddess of staying put. You are the divine patron of the staycation. You verify the ash levels. The ash is acting as an insulator, keeping the coals hot underneath. If you sweep too much away, the fire burns too fast. If you leave too much, it smothers. It is a delicate balance. a quiet equilibrium that you have mastered over eons. You don't need to measure it. You feel it. The hearth speaks to you in thermal language. You settle back onto the cushion. Your eyelids droop. The hum of the fire matches the rhythm of your breathing. Inhale, the fire brightens slightly with the draft. Exhale, it settles. You and the hearth are a single respiratory system. The world outside can rage and storm. Zeus can throw his tantrums and his thunderbolts. Here, in the center, there is only the warmth, the wood, and the waiting. You are still seated on the cushioned stool, but the angle of the light has shifted almost imperceptibly. Perhaps a decade has passed, or perhaps it has only been 10 minutes. In this room, the difference is negligible. Now, however, it is time for a task. Not a big task, mind you. We aren't slaying hydras or stealing cattle. We are going to engage in the ancient, meditative art of sorting lentils and managing ash. On a small side table next to your stool sits a shallow wooden bowl filled with a mixture of dried lentils, barley grains, and the occasional small pebble. Why is this here? Ostensibly, it's an offering from a pious mortal, a farmer somewhere in Boeotia, who wants to ensure his roof doesn't leak. But practically, it serves as the ultimate fidget toy for a bored deity. You reach into the bowl with your pale, unblemished fingers. You pick up a single lentil. It is smooth, cool, and perfectly disc-shaped. You place it in a pile on your left. You pick up a grain of barley. It is rougher, tapered at the ends. You place it in a pile on your right. Lentil, barley, pebble, lentil. This repetitive motion is incredibly grounding. It shuts off the higher functions of the divine brain. You don't have to think about the fate of nations or the prophecies of the oracle. You just have to distinguish between a legume and a grain. Historians still argue whether the story of Psyche being forced to sort piles of grain by Aphrodite was actually a punishment, or if Hestia secretly suggested it as a form of therapy. Trust me, you might have whispered to Aphrodite, "The girl is stressed. Give her a pile of seeds. She'll be zen in an hour." You find a small, grey pebble in the mix. You rub it between your thumb and forefinger. It's a tiny piece of the earth, hard and unyielding. You flick it into the fire. It makes a tiny tink sound as it hits the bronze rim, then vanishes into the coals. A small sacrifice to entropy now. Let's turn our attention back to the hearth itself. The fire has burned down slightly, leaving a fresh rim of white ash around the perimeter of the coals. This ash must be managed. You reach for your broom. This isn't a kitchen broom. It is a ceremonial instrument. The handle is polished cypress, and the bristles are made from the stiff feathers of a hawk. Don't ask which hawk. It's a sensitive subject with Apollo. You kneel on the marble floor. The stone is warm near the fire, cool further away. You exist in the comfortable, temperate zone between the two. You begin to sweep. You are not sweeping vigorously. You are coaxing the ash. You move the bristles in slow, concentric circles, gathering the stray grey flakes into a neat little mound. The sound is a soft shishi, like the ocean, but drier. Ash is a fascinating substance. It is the ghost of wood. It is what remains when the energy has been stripped away. It is incredibly light, almost buoyant. If you sweep too fast, it floats up into the air and coats your eyelashes. So you must be gentle. You treat the ash with reverence. Here is a mainstream historical fact. In ancient Greek households, the ash from the sacred hearth was often saved and used for rituals, or even as a cleaning agent, because the lye in wood ash is a natural soap You are effectively manufacturing the divine cleaning supplies. You sweep a particularly fluffy pile of ash onto a small bronze shovel. It looks like a miniature grey mountain range. You admire its peaks and valleys for a moment. Then, you carefully deposit it into a designated urn. This urn is already full of the dust of 1,000 burned logs. It is a library of consumed fuel. While you sweep, you notice a small imperfection on the bronze rim of the hearth. A smudge of soot. This cannot stand. You are Hestia. Your domain is order. You pull a small cloth from your belt, a piece of soft linen. You rub the bronze. The friction warms the metal under your fingers. You rub in small, circular motions. Wax on, wax off. The soot lifts, revealing the dull, golden gleam of the bronze underneath. It's deeply satisfying, like peeling the plastic off a new electronic device. But repeated for eternity. This brings us to a quirky tidbit about your role. While Ares is the god of war and destruction, and Poseidon is the god of earthquakes and shattering things, you are the goddess of maintenance. You are the anti-entropy. The universe wants to fall apart. You gently, persistently put it back together. You are the patron saint of janitors, archivists, and people who defragment their hard drives for fun. It's not glamorous, but without you, Olympus would just be a pile of rubble and dirty laundry.
You finish sweeping. The hearthstone is now pristine, save for the glowing heart of the fire. You return to your stool. You look at your piles of grain. The lentil pile is slightly taller than the barley pile. You reach out and adjust them, flattening the tops so they are perfectly level. Symmetry is important. You pick up the poker again. You give the fire a little stir, just to let it know you're still watching. A single log shifts, revealing a glowing cavern of red heat underneath. It looks like a dragon's eye. You stare into it, mesmerizing yourself. You could see the future in there if you wanted to. Fire-gazing was a legitimate form of divination called pyromancy, but you don't really care about the future. The future usually involves Zeus doing something ill-advised. You prefer the present, the warm, quiet, ash-dusted present. You take a deep breath. The air smells of the dried herbs you threw in earlier. Maybe a sprig of thyme. It's a savory, homey smell. It smells like a kitchen where someone loves you is cooking soup. You are that kitchen. You are the soup. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the silence. It's not empty silence. It's a full silence. It's the silence of a library or a museum after hours. It's a respectful hush. Somewhere, far below on the earth, wars are being fought, cities are being besieged, and heroes are making dramatic speeches. Up here, you are deciding whether to move a lentil from the left pile to the right pile. It is, frankly, the better way to spend an evening. You open your eyes. The fire hasn't moved. The ash hasn't moved. The lentils haven't moved. Everything is exactly where it should be. You let out a long, slow sigh of contentment. You're the guardian of the status quo, and business is good. Now that the lentils are segregated, and the ash has been disciplined into a neat pile, we turn our attention to the shiny things. You are still comfortably perched on your stool, but you reach down to a lower shelf on your side table. There, gleaming in the firelight, sit the golden cups and pitchers of the gods, specifically the ones they abandoned in the hall after the last feast, because nobody else bothers to bust their own tables. You pick up a chalice. It is heavy, solid gold, encrusted with rubies that look like crystallized drops of pomegranate juice. Beautiful, yes, but it's covered in fingerprints. Sticky, nectar-covered fingerprints. Likely Dionysus again. You sigh, a soft sound that is lost in the vastness of the room, and pick up your polishing cloth. This is a different cloth from the soot rag. This one is made of lamb's wool, soft as a cloud. You begin to buff. You rub the gold in slow, rhythmic circles. The friction generates a gentle warmth. You work your way around the rim of the cup, erasing the smudges of divine revelry. As you polish, the metal begins to glow, reflecting the hearth fire in a distorted, amber fisheye lens. You can see your own reflection in the curve of the chalice. A calm face, eyes half-lidded, bathed in orange light. You look peaceful. You look like someone who has nowhere else to be. This act of polishing is infinite. Gold doesn't tarnish, technically, but on Olympus, dust is a thing, and sticky ambrosia residue is definitely a thing. So you polish. It's a task with no beginning and no end. You are Sisyphus, but instead of pushing a rock up a hill, you are making a cup shiny. And you have a much nicer cushion. Once the cup is gleaming to your satisfaction, you set it down and pick up a pitcher. This one is filled with nectar, the drink of the gods. It is a thick, golden liquid, viscous like honey, but pouring like heavy cream. You need to decant it into a smaller serving jug, just in case anyone wanders in, which they won't, but you must be prepared. You lift the heavy pitcher. You tilt it. The nectar begins to flow. It moves slowly, a sluggish river of gold. You watch the stream. It folds over itself as it hits the bottom of the smaller jug, creating ribbons of liquid that slowly merge. It is mesmerizing fluid dynamics. You watch a single bubble rise slowly through the nectar, wobbling its way to the surface. It takes a full 10 seconds. Bloop, dot. It pops. This brings us to a mainstream historical fact. Nectar and ambrosia were the food and drink of the gods, conferring immortality. But historians and linguists still argue about which was which. Some texts say ambrosia was the food. Others say it was the drink. It's a divine labeling error that has persisted for 3,000 years. To you, it doesn't matter. It's all just sticky stuff that you have to wipe off the furniture. While you pour, you think about the concept of hospitality, or xenia. This is your domain. In ancient Greece, if a stranger showed up at your door, you had to feed them and give them a place to sleep before you even asked their name. It was a sacred duty protected by Zeus. But let's be honest, Hestia did the heavy lifting. Zeus enforced the rules. Hestia cooked the stew. You are the divine hostess, the one who ensures there is always a warm spot by the fire and a clean cup, even if that cup is currently being polished by the goddess herself, because the waitstaff is non-existent. You finish pouring the nectar. You wipe the spout of the pitcher with a precision that would make a surgeon jealous. Not a drop is spilled. You place the pitcher back on the tray. The metal clinks softly against the wood. It is a satisfying domestic sound. You pick up another object from the table. It's a small silver oil lamp, shaped like a dove. The wick is dry. You pick up a flask of olive oil. The good stuff. First press, straight from Athena's grove, and carefully fill the reservoir. The oil glugs softly. Gluk, gluk, gluk. You watch the level rise, stopping exactly 1 millimeter from the brim. You trim the wick. You light it from the main hearth fire, transferring a tiny spark from the mother flame to the daughter flame. The lamp glows with a soft, white light, contrasting with the orange of the coals. Here is a quirky tidbit. In the ancient city halls, or prytaneons of Greek city-states, there was always a sacred hearth dedicated to Hestia that was never allowed to go out. If a colony was sent out to found a new city, they would carry coals from the original hearth in a special pot to light the fire in the new city. You were effectively the first mobile power bank. You were the battery that charged civilization. You placed the silver lamp on a high shelf. It casts a gentle pool of light on the marble wall, illuminating a fresco. Well, it's a fresco of Zeus, turning into a bull. You roll your eyes. You can't escape the family drama, even in the decor. But you can ignore it. You turn your back on the fresco and face the fire again. The polishing is done. The pouring is done. The lamps are trimmed. Your hands smell of olive oil and wool. It is a clean, honest scent. You rub your hands together, massaging the oil into your skin. It's a divine spa treatment. You inspect your fingernails. They are short, clean, and practical. No talons for you. You are a working goddess. You settle back down. The silence rushes back in to fill the space left by your movements. It feels even deeper now. The fire has settled further into its bed of ash. The coals are darker now. A deep, brooding crimson. You pick up the poker and give the logs a gentle prod. A shower of sparks swirls up, dancing like fireflies before vanishing into the dark upper reaches of the hall. You watch one specific spark. You follow its trajectory. It spirals up, catches a draft, loops twice, and then fades out. You feel a strange sense of connection to that spark. Brief, bright, and then gone, returning to the dark. But the fire remains. The source remains. You remain. You take a sip of nectar from the cup you just polished. Quality control, obviously. Tastes of honey, wildflowers, and a subtle hint of ozone. It warms your chest, spreading a slow heat through your limbs that matches the heat from the hearth. You are warm on the inside and warm on the outside. You are a goddess in thermal equilibrium. You rest your chin in your hand. Your eyes trace the patterns in the marble floor. Vines of gray and green running through the white stone. You follow a green. The silence of the hall has been absolute for hours. A thick velvet blanket wrapped around your shoulders. But now, a disturbance ripples through the ether. It is faint, distant, but undeniable. Rumble. It sounds like a heavy stone being dragged across a floor 3 valleys away. It is thunder. Somewhere on the far side of the mountain, in the cloud-wreathed peaks, where the view is dramatic and the drafts are terrible. Your brother Zeus is awake. He is likely shouting something declarative, or perhaps he just dropped his scepter. It doesn't matter. The noise is a low-frequency vibration that you feel in the soles of your sandals more than you hear with your ears. You do not flinch. You do not look up. You simply blink, once, slowly. This is the background radiation of your life. Living on Olympus is like living above a bowling alley run by temperamental giants. You have learned to filter it out. The rumble fades, leaving behind a silence that feels even deeper by contrast. It emphasizes just how quiet your corner of the world is. But the disturbance has a side effect. A draft. The massive bronze doors at the far end of the hall, usually sealed tight, must have shuddered slightly in the blast. A thin ribbon of cold mountain air snakes its way across the marble floor. You can't see it, but you can feel it. It is a subtle, invisible invader. It slithers past the columns, bypasses the empty thrones, and curls around your ankles. It's chilly. It carries the scent of snow and ozone, the distinct smell of a thunderstorm. It is the smell of the outside. You disapprove. The outside belongs out there. The inside is for warmth and toasted rosemary. You watch the fire react. The flames, which had been standing straight and tall like disciplined soldiers, suddenly lean to the left. They flutter nervously. The smoke column wavers, breaking its perfect vertical line. The coals brighten on one side as the fresh oxygen hits them. The hearth is annoyed. You are also annoyed. But Hestia's annoyance is not like Hera's annoyance. You don't turn anyone into a heifer. You simply take corrective action. You stand up. Your movements are slow and deliberate, conserving heat. You walk toward the source of the draft. Your sandals make no sound on the stone. You have mastered the art of the silent glide. You reach the heavy curtains that hang near the entrance, thick tapestries woven with scenes of the Titans, which is a bit grim, but the wool is excellent insulation. You adjust the fabric, pulling it tighter across the gap. You smooth the folds, ensuring there are no wrinkles where a rogue breeze could sneak through. You are sealing the airlock. You pause by the door. You can hear the faint, high-pitched whistling of the wind outside. It sounds hostile. It sounds like a lot of effort. You are so glad you are not out there. You are so glad you are not hunting, or fighting, or delivering messages, or being a son. You are inside, where it is dry. This brings us to a scholarly debate. Historians often view Hestia as passive, a goddess who does nothing. But consider the physics of the hearth. Fire requires containment. Without the hearth, the container, the fire spreads and destroys. Hestia isn't passive. She's the structure that prevents the house from burning down. She's the containment field for divine energy. And you aren't doing nothing. You are actively holding the center together. You are the gravity that keeps the family from flying off into space. You turn back toward your fire. From this distance, across the vast hall, it looks like a single glowing eye in the dark. It is small, but it is intense. It is the only thing that matters. You walk back to it. The draft is gone. The flames have stood up straight again. The equilibrium is restored. As you sit back down, you notice a single cricket has found its way into the hall, likely hitching a ride on that draft. It is sitting near the base of the hearth, looking confused. It chirps. Creak, got down. The sound is incredibly loud in the silence. It echoes off the vaulted ceiling. You look at the cricket. The cricket looks at you. Shh, you whisper. The cricket, recognizing the authority of a major deity, falls silent. It crawls into a small crack in the marble, seeking the warmth of the stones. You have now provided hospitality to an insect. Your job is done. Here is a quirky tidbit about your symbols. While other gods have eagles, owls, and peacocks, Hestia is often associated with the pig. Not because you are messy, but because pigs were common sacrifices, and the fat was used to feed the hearth fire. But really, your true symbol is the circle. The round hearth, the round world, the cycle of the seasons. You are the geometry of wholeness. You sit in your circle of light, while the linear, jagged dramas of the other gods play out around you. You pick up a small handful of dried herbs from a bowl. Lavender this time. You sprinkle them onto the coals. They don't burn immediately. They toast first, releasing a cloud of fragrant steam. Then, they catch, flashing with tiny blue sparks. The scent washes over you, floral and calming. It masks the ozone smell of the draft completely. The sanctuary is re-sanctified. You wrap your arms around your knees, pulling your legs up onto the stool. You are a self-contained unit. You watch the smoke curl up. It forms shapes, spirals, loops, helixes. You trace them with your eyes. It is nature's lava lamp. You think about the other gods out there in the storm. Zeus getting wet, Poseidon getting salty, Ares probably getting stabbed. They are all expending so much energy. They are all so loud. You wonder if they ever get tired. You wonder if they ever look at a comfortable stool and think, yes, that is the peak of existence. Probably not. That is why they are them, and you are you. You lean your head back against the wall. If the stool is close enough, or just rest your chin on your knees. The stone behind you is warm from the fire. You are sandwiched between layers of warmth. You are the filling in a heat pie. The thunder comes again, but it is fainter now. The storm is moving away. Or maybe you are just falling deeper into the trance of the hearth. The noise is irrelevant. The draft is defeated. The cricket is asleep. The fire is perfect. You watch a log break in half. It collapses with a soft whump into the bed of ash. It reveals a new surface of unburnt wood, which immediately begins to glow. The cycle continues. Destruction, renewal, warmth. You are the witness to the slow combustion of the universe, and you have the best seat in the house. The night has deepened into something ancient and absolute. The draft is gone, the thunder has rolled away to harass some other mountain range, and the silence in the great hall is now so thick you could carve it with a knife, or at least a very sharp bronze sickle. It is time for the final ritual of the evening. It is time to bank the fire. This is the most critical part of your job. If you simply walked away, the fire would burn itself out by morning, consuming all the wood and leaving only cold, dead white dust. That would be a catastrophe. The hearth must never die. It must only sleep. You are effectively tucking the universe in for the night. You stand up from your stool, your joints popping softly, a sound that mimics the cracking of the firewood. You pick up the large bronze shovel. It has a wide, flat blade, perfect for manipulating piles of ash. You approach the altar. The heat is still intense, glowing against your shins, but the flames have settled down into a low, steady pulse. You begin to gather the ash from the perimeter of the hearth. You scoop up a mound of the gray, powdery substance. It is light and soft, almost like flour. You gently pour it over the glowing red coals in the center. Ah, shh. The sound is like a soft exhale. The bright red light is instantly muffled. You scoop again. Shh. Another layer. You are building a blanket of ash. This layer deprives the coals of just enough oxygen to stop them from burning openly, but keeps them hot enough to smolder. It traps the heat inside, preserving the core temperature. It is a primitive but perfect form of thermal battery storage. By morning, when you, or whoever is on the early shift, rake back the ash, the coals will glow bright red, ready to ignite fresh wood instantly. This brings us to a mainstream historical fact. This process was so vital that in Rome, where Hestia was known as Vesta, the priestesses, the Vestal Virgins, were tasked with this exact job. If the fire went out, it wasn't just an oops moment. It was considered a terrifying omen that the protection of the gods had left the city. The responsible priestess would be stripped and beaten by the Pontifex Maximus in the dark. Thankfully, you are a goddess, so nobody is going to beat you. But the pressure is still there. You are the ultimate Vestal. You are the source code for the ritual. You continue to cover the embers. The light in the hall begins to die. The warm orange glow that illuminated the columns and the ceiling fades, retreating down into the bronze basin. The shadows in the corners of the room rush inward, reclaiming the space. The vast hall feels larger now, and colder, though you are still warm standing next to the heat source. You leave a single tiny vent hole in the ash mound, a chimney for the coals to breathe. You peer into it. Deep down, under the gray slopes, you can see the fierce, angry red eye of the fire. It is safe. It is contained. It is waiting. There's a scholarly debate that fits this moment of darkening. Historians and theologians still argue whether Hestia was fully anthropomorphized, meaning, did the Greeks really see her as a woman in a robe, or did they see the fire as her? In many stories, she has almost no physical description. She has no adventures. She rarely speaks. She is so synonymous with the hearth that she might just be the personification of the combustion process itself. As you cover the coals, you feel this ambiguity. Are you the woman holding the shovel? Or are you the heat trapped under the ash? Maybe you are both. Maybe you are just the concept of warmth having a lucid dream. You place the shovel back on its rack. Clang, totini. The sound is final. The work is done. The hearth is now a dark, warm mound in the center of the room. The only light comes from the small oil lamp you lit earlier, sitting high on the shelf. It casts a pale, silvery light, totally different from the rich gold of the fire. It feels like moonlight. You turn away from the altar. You look at your stool. You consider sitting back down, But the show is over. The fire is asleep. It's time for you to retire to your own quarters. A small, cozy room just off the main hall, where the bed is piled high with woolen blankets and the windows are small to keep out the drafts. But before you go, you do one last check. You walk the perimeter of the hearth. You check for stray sparks. You check for any rogue lentils that might have escaped your sorting earlier. You check that the pitcher of nectar is covered, so no flies get in. You are the closer. You are the manager locking the doors of reality for the night. Here is a final, quirky tidbit. Hestia is often paired in literature with Hermes. He is the god of the road, the traveler, the messenger who never stops moving. You are the goddess of the home, the fixed point, the one who never leaves. In the Homeric hymn to Hestia, the poet invokes both of you, acknowledging that you can't have a journey without a home to come back to. Hermes is the motion. You are the destination. He is out there right now, probably flying through the storm, getting soaked, delivering a dream to a shepherd. You are here, in the dark, warm and dry. You know who has the better deal. You pick up the small oil lamp from the shelf. The shadows swing wildly as you move. You walk toward the archway that leads to your room. You cast one last look back at the great hall. It is a cavern of shadows now. The thrones of Zeus, Hera, and Poseidon are just looming shapes in the dark, empty, and cold. They look lonely without their occupants. But the center of the room, the hearth, still radiates a palpable heat. It is a presence. It is the heartbeat of the house, slow and steady. You feel a profound sense of satisfaction. It is the satisfaction of a job that is invisible, but essential. You didn't win a war today. You didn't seduce a mortal. You didn't strike anyone with lightning. You just kept the fire burning. You kept the world warm. And that is enough. You step through the archway. The air in your private chamber is still and smells of lavender. You set the lamp down on a bedside table. You untie your belt. You are ready to let go of the divine responsibilities. You are ready to just be Hestia, the sleeper. Now the fire is banked, and the hall is silent. The work of the goddess is finished, and the heavy bronze doors of Olympus are sealed against the wind. It is time for you, too, to let go of your vigilance. Imagine yourself in that small, quiet room off the great hall. You sink into the bed, which is not made of clouds or magic, but of soft, yielding wool and linen, layers and layers of it, heavy and comforting. As you lie down, you feel the weight of the covers pressing you gently into the mattress. It is a good weight. It is the weight of security. The oil lamp flickers once and goes out, leaving you in a darkness that is soft and velvety. It's not a scary darkness. It's a resting darkness. The air around you is perfectly still. There are no drafts here. There is no thunder. There is only the memory of warmth, a radiant heat that seems to come from within your own bones, radiating out to relax every muscle. Your legs, tired from the stillness, finally stretch out. Your shoulders, which have been carrying the subtle weight of the atmosphere, sink down. You take a slow, deep breath, inhaling the scent of the dying embers and the sweet, dry herbs. The rhythm of your breathing slows down, matching the slow, smoldering pulse of the banked fire in the other room. Inhale, hold. The world outside, the storms, the noise, the endless to-do lists, is far away on the other side of the mountain. It cannot reach you here. You are the center. You are the hearth. You are safe, warm, and perfectly, beautifully boring. The gray ash covers the red coals. The eyelids cover the eyes. The silence covers the sound. Everything is tucked in. Everything is waiting for tomorrow. But tomorrow is a long layoff. For now, there is only the quiet. End of Script. Sweet dreams.